My name is Leatrice Quinn, 31 years old. The front door sighed as I stepped into my mother's dining room, and the smell of roasted thyme and cinnamon apples climbed the staircase like it had reservations. Everything gleamed. The table was a magazine spread, fall leaves arranged with surgical precision, monogrammed napkins folded into little crowns, a centerpiece so elaborate it looked insured. 23 relatives pressed in around polished wood and good intentions, their voices rising and falling over crystal. I set my bakery pie beside a cathedral of cheeses and figs that clearly cost more than my rent and reminded myself to breathe through the smallness that always found me here. "Look who's early," Mom chimed, smoothing her blouse, that soft, pitying smile already set. "Steady, Leatrice. Always dependable." She made dependable sound like a toaster that never sparks. I slipped into a chair near the end of the table. Traffic was kind. "You look tidy," Aunt Susan offered, eyes flicking over my simple sweater and jeans. "That's her number thing. Tidy," Dad said, attempting a joke and landing in a shrug. "Very stable work." A ladle clinked against porcelain. The room shifted like school children hearing footsteps. Amanda swept in 30 minutes late, wearing a new Burberry coat and an expression that said the evening belonged to her. Derek walked behind her, handsome and careful, carrying a charcuterie board from the artisan place downtown, where the olives come with a biography. "Sorry we're late," she sang. "Self-care Sunday," my esthetician insisted. She kissed our mother's cheek with a reverence typically reserved for relics, then set the board down beside my modest pie. The comparison did its job. "You work so hard, sweetheart," Mom cooed, hands on Amanda's shoulders. "You deserve it." They talked around me like I was a coat rack. Derek's orthodontic practice, expanding. The kids, thriving. A pre-holiday getaway to Turks and Caicos, booked. Cousin Brian had a promotion. Aunt Susan's Jennifer just closed on a house with a pergola, which was apparently the moral of adulthood. When conversation found me at last, Mom's tone changed. Careful, gauzy. "And Leatrice is still doing her numbers for other people's money," she announced. "Very steady." "Steady is good," Dad echoed, as if endorsing a durable brand of batteries. I smiled without showing teeth. I make $240,000 a year, organizing chaos into solvency. But in this room, my job was to fold into the wallpaper and not stain it. That's how it's always been. Amanda could post a handbag and it would become a family achievement. I could secure a multi-million-dollar restructuring and it would be, at best, tidy. "The real world feels brutal," my younger cousin Maya said softly, breaking the pattern. "My student loans are killing me. I'm barely making the minimums." I turned toward her like a window had opened. "There are consolidation routes that—" "Leatrice," Mom cut in gently. "Not everyone wants to hear about interest staircases and amortization." "I said consolidation, not—" I stopped. "The old playbook. Give Amanda the spotlight before she asks for it." "You should talk to your cousin," Mom continued. "Amanda is so good with money. Look at that beautiful house." "Of course," Amanda said, crossing her legs elegantly and tipping her glass. "Budget better, get a little side hustle, stay disciplined. It's really mindset." Maya nodded, still drowning. Derek's jaw flexed once. He didn't blink. After dinner, I found Maya alone in the kitchen, scraping cranberry sauce into a container. The house hummed with dishwashers and opinions. "If you want," I said quietly, "I can send you a few resources. There are ways to drop your interest, sometimes by a lot, and—" "Oh my God, Leatrice." Amanda leaned in the doorway, wineglass in hand, eyes shining with a sharpness that never reflected in her photos. "Can you not?" Her laugh was velvet cut with wire. "She doesn't need a lecture." I offered help, not a lecture. "She needs real advice, not whatever you do." A flit of the wrist, dismissive. "Numbers." I looked at Maya. "It's simple, not—" "See?" Amanda's voice rose, perfectly calibrated to draw our audience. She inserts herself, like always. "What's going on in here?" Dad asked, arriving with a practiced frown. Aunts materialized at the edges of the doorway, drawn like moths. "Leatrice is trying to give Maya financial advice," Amanda said sweetly, "when she can barely manage her own." The floor tilted under me. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "We all know you're always short on cash," Amanda said, pity dripping off each syllable. "You live in that tiny apartment. You never travel. You dress like—" She swirled her glass. "Goodwill chic. It's sad, really." Enough, Derek said under his breath, but the room wanted a show. I have never asked you for money, I said. Please. Amanda rolled her eyes. Just last month you were calling about bills. The implication slid into place, smooth as a lie, rehearsed in front of a mirror. Last month, I called to tell her I couldn't keep covering her minimums: 4 credit cards, 2 loans, a car payment, insurance, household expenses. I called to ask for even a partial repayment. But her story flipped the table and no one noticed the sound. Leatrice, Mom said tenderly, as if addressing a fainting Victorian. If you're struggling, you should have told us. I'm not. There's no shame, Dad added, but constantly asking your sister is inappropriate. There it was, the verdict, the scapegoat costume buttoned back up. You see? Amanda said, gesturing at me with the stem of her glass. So defensive. It's always like this. You make your problems everyone else's responsibility. It would have been so easy to open the vault, to throw the numbers into their faces, the $41,300 I'd shoveled into the furnaces for 4 years, the $3,600 each month that kept Amanda's shame quiet and her Instagram loud, the $87,000 of debt that didn't belong to me but had my calendar alerts. It would have been easy to say Derek's name and watch the room rearrange around me. Instead, I remembered the first midnight call, Amanda sobbing about a renovation mistake, begging me to cover a payment just once, promising to pay me back, swearing I was saving her marriage if Derek never found out. I remembered the way my chest had cracked with the old instinct. Protect her. Protect us. Keep the peace. Something steadier stood up inside me. You're right, I said, pulling out my phone. I should take responsibility. What are you doing, Mom asked. Being tidy, I said, and opened my banking app. The scheduled payments lived like hidden bones beneath the month. The 2 major credit cards, the personal loan, the car payment, the insurance, the household transfer that had grown like ivy over the years. 6 lines, all first of the month. My thumb hovered above the first one. Leatrice, Amanda warned, eyes sparkling with a pleasure so close to fury it looked the same. Don't make a scene. You did, I said calmly. I'm cleaning it. I tapped cancel. A warning flared. Are you sure? I confirmed. The bone vanished. I canceled the next, and the next, each one letting go with a soft digital click. Amanda's phone buzzed against the marble. She ignored it. It buzzed again. A third time, then rapid, urgent bursts that turned the kitchen into a hive. Do you need to get that? Mom asked. It's spam, Amanda said, smile wide and thin. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The calm inside me deepened. I canceled the 5th line and typed a message directly to my bank through the secure chat. Please stop all recurring payments on the following accounts. I listed the last 4 digits of each card and loan. Numbers I knew the way some people know lyrics. The phone in Amanda's hand thrummed like a small animal panicking to escape. What did you do? She hissed, the mask slipping at the edges. What you asked, I said. I'm making my problems my responsibility. Fix it, she whispered, stepping closer. Her perfume was expensive and a little desperate. I met her eyes. No. Derek reached for her elbow. Mandy, he murmured, a warning not meant for me. Oh my God, Aunt Susan breathed, watching the performance turn on its actor. I set my phone on the counter, picked up my coat. The room had fallen into that dense quiet that gathers before a glass shatters. I could feel every gaze, the old script turning brittle in their hands. Leatrice, Dad said, voice softening, unsure of his lines. Let's not be hasty. I'm not, I said. Hasty was 4 years ago when I said yes. This is late, but it's right. Amanda's phone rang. She declined the call. It rang immediately again. A bank. A different bank. The third one she thought I didn't know about. I moved toward the hallway. The mirror there caught me in passing. Hair slightly wind-tossed from earlier, cheeks faintly flushed, eyes clear. I looked like somebody I recognized and hadn't seen in a while. Leatrice, Mom called after me, voice breaking. We didn't mean... You meant it, I said kindly. I heard you. I pulled open the door. Cold air folded over my wrists. Behind me, the buzz intensified, followed by a hard, shrill ringtone that cut straight through the polite house. The sound of consequences, I thought, and stepped out into the November night, leaving warmth and theater and the old shape of myself behind. The door closed with a soft, adult click, the kind that doesn't need an argument to feel final. On the drive home, my hands were steady, Streetlights stitched the road into neat pieces. My phone lit up at a stoplight. Calls, texts, voicemails, stacking like chairs after a party. Amanda's name filled the screen again and again, the previewed words marching from fury to panic to pleading. I turned the volume down until the night returned to itself. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. By the time I parked, the messages were a constellation. What did you do? Fix this. Why are my payments declining? This isn't funny. The bank called me. Please, please. Derek is asking questions. I stood in my quiet apartment and set my keys in their dish. The radiator ticked. I put the kettle on. Steam ghosted the window. Somewhere on the other side of town, a phone refused to stop ringing. Mine didn't ring at all. I made tea and let it cool. Then I sat down at my small oak table, opened my laptop, and began to gather the last 4 years into something that made sense, not to weaponize, but to own. Dates, amounts, transfers, screenshots, promises. Every hard number, like a bead, I slid onto a string until there was a shape to what I had carried. A ledger, yes, but also a map of how far I had come just by deciding to stop walking in circles. When the kettle clicked again on its own, I realized I'd gone still, listening for a sound that didn't arrive. The silence was a new kind of wealth. I saved the file. I closed the laptop. I let the apartment be small and entirely mine. And somewhere, across the city, Amanda's phone began to ring again. Louder than the music she preferred, louder than the compliments, louder than the versions of me she'd told. I turned off my lamp and left her to it. By morning, my phone looked like a crime scene. 34 missed calls, 17 voicemails, and a message from my bank confirming all 6 payments had been permanently canceled. I poured coffee, black and unbothered, while Amanda's panic bloomed across my lock screen. The first voicemail was all teeth. Leatrice, what the hell did you do? My payments aren't going through. Fix this. Now. The second was higher, thinner. Leatrice, please, I don't understand. My cards are declining. The bank called. Please call me back. By the fourth, her voice cracked. Derek's asking questions. Please, just call me. I'll make it right. The fifth was my mother's voice. Tight, composed, the way she sounds before the storm. Leatrice, whatever's happening between you and your sister, undo it. Amanda is in tears. Call her. We'll discuss this like adults. I didn't call anyone. I opened my laptop instead and continued the quiet audit I'd started last night. 47 pages of receipts, statements, text messages, 4 years of history laid bare in neat columns, every transfer, every plea, every promise, the proof of what silence had cost me. When I finished, I emailed it to myself, then backed it up to 3 cloud drives. Not revenge, insurance. At 8:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, "This is Leatrice." "Good morning, Ms. Quinn. This is Janet from Chase Bank. I'm calling to confirm cancellation of recurring payments on an account ending in 7734, Amanda's main card." "Yes," I said. "I set those up and I'm ending them." "Understood. You realize this may result in late fees for the cardholder?" "I do." "May I ask the reason for cancellation?" "Family arrangement that's ended." "Very well, Ms. Quinn. It's processed. Thank you for your time." The call ended. I stared at the quiet phone. The peace felt suspicious, like the moment before thunder. 5 minutes later, Amanda texted, "You canceled everything. Why would you do that to me?" I replied, "You said I need to stop asking you for money. I'm respecting your wishes." The typing bubbles appeared, vanished, reappeared. Then, "That's not what I meant, and you know it. I have $87K in debt. I can't make these payments." There it was, a confession, written, time-stamped, undeniable. "Then perhaps you shouldn't have spent $87,000 you didn't have," I wrote back. "This is no longer my responsibility. Best of luck with your budget." 3 dots blinked for a full minute before disappearing. I muted the thread. By Monday morning, the ripple had become a wave. Mom called at 7:15 a.m. Not a hello, just, "Leatrice, what did you do?" "Good morning, Mom." "Don't good morning me. Amanda is having a breakdown. Her credit cards are maxed. She's getting calls from collectors. Did you cancel something?" I stopped paying her bills. Silence, the kind that rewires oxygen. "You what?" I've been paying Amanda's credit card bills, car payment, insurance, and personal loans for 4 years. On Thanksgiving, she told the entire family I was a beggar who asked her for money, so I stopped. Another silence, longer this time, heavier. Leatrice, that's not... She didn't mean... She called me embarrassing, Mom. That was unkind, but you can't just cut her off. I can, and I did. She needs to take responsibility for her choices. Her words, not mine. She's your sister. And I've given her $41,000 without a single dollar back. Mom's composure cracked. 41,000? Yes. Every month for 4 years, $3,600. To protect her marriage, because she said Derek would leave if he found out how deep she was in debt. More silence. I could almost hear the gears turning. Love, loyalty, denial, all colliding in her head. Leatrice, regardless of what she said, you can't leave her to face this alone. She wasn't alone, Mom. That's the problem. I hung up before the guilt could take root again. Tuesday, Dad called. His voice was calm, official, the way he gets when he's pretending not to take sides. Leatrice, we need to talk about this situation with Amanda. There's no situation, Dad. I'm simply not paying her bills anymore. She's in real trouble. The credit card companies are threatening collections. She'll ruin her credit. She ruined her credit by spending money she didn't have. That's not my problem. Don't you care about your sister? I closed my eyes. That old question, designed to cut at the bone. Of course I care. That's why I paid her debt for 4 years. That's why I missed vacations, investments, my own savings goals. But caring doesn't mean drowning with her. That's very selfish, he said. Then I guess I'm selfish, I replied softly, because I'm finally done. What if she loses her house? Derek pays for the house. What if Derek leaves her when he finds out? Then maybe she shouldn't have lied for 4 years. You've changed, he said. I used to be useful, I corrected. There's a difference. After we hung up, I let the phone rest face down. I'd forgotten what it felt like to be the villain in their eyes. It was almost peaceful now that I knew the truth. That afternoon, Cousin Maya called. Her voice trembled a little. Leatrice, it's Maya from Thanksgiving. I remember. I just wanted to apologize. I had no idea what was going on. When Amanda said those things and you just stood there, I felt horrible after. It's fine, I said. You didn't do anything. Well, apparently Amanda's having some kind of meltdown. My mom said it's financial. Is that about you? I hesitated. The truth balanced on my tongue. But Maya's tone wasn't gossip. It was genuine. She's been in serious credit card debt for years, I said carefully. I was helping her make minimum payments. She asked me to keep it secret, but she lied about it publicly, so I stopped. You were paying her bills while she was telling everyone you couldn't manage money? Yes. For 4 years? Yes. Maya was silent for a moment. Then, quietly, Leatrice, that's insane. I know. She humiliated you while you were saving her from collapse. I know. You have to tell everyone. I won't. It'll sound like revenge. She'll twist it. She's good at that. Leatrice. The best revenge, I said, is letting her face the natural consequences. But kindness is a contagion in our family, and Maya had a soft heart. By Thursday, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. Aunt Susan first. Leatrice, honey, Maya told me what's been going on. None of us knew. I'd prefer not to talk about it. But the way Amanda treated you, if we'd known, it doesn't matter. It's over. It matters, sweetheart. We're horrified. Please, Aunt Susan, let it go. Then Cousin Brian called. Then Uncle Frank, already threatening to give Amanda a piece of his mind. Then Jennifer, crying about how unfair it was. I answered none of them. But one call I didn't expect did get through. Derek. Leatrice, he said, voice steady but raw. Can we talk? If this is about Amanda's debt, I already know. She told me everything. The cards, the loans, the payments you made. I'm sorry you had to carry that. You don't need to apologize, Derek. I do. She lied to both of us. I handle our joint accounts, but she said she had her own money from Etsy sales. I never imagined it was this deep. It's done now, I said quietly. She told everyone you were asking her for money. I know. I just wanted to say I'm sorry you were humiliated for being the only one who actually helped her. His voice cracked. I don't know how to fix this. You don't, I said gently. She does. He exhaled. You've got more grace than any of us deserve. When the call ended, I realized something had shifted. The truth was finally leaking through the cracks Amanda built, and there was nothing she could do to patch it. That night, I left my phone on the kitchen counter and sat by the window. Snow had started to fall, the kind that hushes everything. Across the street, a family strung lights together, laughter muffled through the glass. I watched until the cold nipped at my fingers. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for a notification, an apology, or a disaster. I was just still. And somewhere across town, Amanda's world was unraveling exactly as she'd designed it, on credit. By Friday morning, the silence felt wrong, too wide, too still, the kind of calm that meant someone was planning something. At 9:02 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Mom. I let it ring. Then Dad. Then Mom again. Finally, a text. Family dinner tonight. Everyone. Be there. We need to talk. Those 5 words carried the weight of a summons. I didn't respond. But by evening, curiosity outlasted pride. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, Amanda's SUV was gone. Derek's sedan was parked crookedly beside Dad's truck, the engine still ticking. Inside, the house was quieter than I'd ever heard it. No music, no laughter, just the sound of cutlery being stacked carefully in the sink. Mom stood at the counter, lips pressed tight. Dad sat at the table, his hands clasped. Derek leaned against the wall, looking like someone who hadn't slept in days. Leatrice, Mom started, her voice controlled. Your sister isn't here. Then why am I? Because this family is falling apart, she snapped, her composure cracking for the first time. And you two are at the center of it. I didn't start this, I said evenly. No, Derek said, voice tired but firm. Amanda did. He ran a hand over his face. She maxed out every card, opened another loan behind my back. When the banks called, I thought there had been a mistake, but the more I looked, the worse it got. Nearly $90,000 in revolving debt, Leatrice. Half of it disguised as house expenses. Mom flinched like the numbers were bullets. She said you'd been helping her, Derek continued. But I didn't know it was like this. 4 years? Every month? I nodded once. He looked away, jaw tight. I didn't even know she was capable of that kind of lie. Mom tried to intervene. She made mistakes, Derek. Everyone... Stop, he said sharply. She didn't make mistakes. She built a lie big enough to live inside. The words hung in the air. No one spoke for a moment. Dad cleared his throat. Your sister's gone to stay with a friend for a few days. She's overwhelmed. Overwhelmed, I repeated. That's one word for it. Leatrice, Mom said, her tone softening. You've made your point. She's suffering now. Her cards are frozen. She's facing collectors. She's humiliated. Don't you think she's been punished enough? She's not being punished, Mom, I said quietly. She's facing reality. That's what she's been avoiding for years. Mom's eyes filled with tears she wouldn't let fall. You're supposed to protect each other. The sentence landed like a confession and a verdict at once. Even Dad looked away. Derek exhaled. I'm meeting with a financial counselor Monday. We'll restructure what we can, sell what we have to. I've already listed her SUV, the trip's canceled. She'll hate me for it, but... She'll thank you one day, I said. He gave a short, hollow laugh. You sound like my therapist. When I left that night, the air outside felt heavier, swollen with the kind of sadness that doesn't show up in photos. The family was collapsing under years of illusion, and I'd simply stopped holding up the scaffolding. Saturday morning, I went to the cafe across from my apartment, the one with cracked tiles and cinnamon dust in the air. Maya was waiting, clutching her mug like it held answers. Leatrice, I think you should know something, she said, leaning in. Aunt Susan told people at church what Amanda did. It's spreading fast. I blinked. What exactly did she tell them? That you were paying Amanda's bills for years. That she humiliated you at Thanksgiving. That you finally stopped. Maya winced. She said you handled it with grace. I sighed. Grace isn't the word they'll use when Amanda finds out. She already did. Maya's voice dropped lower. She called Mom last night screaming. Said you're ruining her reputation. I stirred my coffee. I didn't ruin it. She just ran out of other people's money to hide behind. She says she'll make things right, Maya offered. But she also said she's angry you didn't defend her when people started talking. I smiled without humor. She's angry because she finally lost control of the story. Maya hesitated. She's my cousin, but I think you did the right thing. Nobody ever told her no before. Maybe she needed someone too. I looked at Maya, the only person who'd listened without asking for proof, and nodded. Maybe we all did. By Monday afternoon, I received a message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Amanda. I ignored it. Then came another. Please, it's important. A third followed. I know everyone's talking about me. I know you think I deserve it, but I just need a chance to explain. Please. Something about that please didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded human. At 9:15 that night, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Amanda stood there, eyes red, makeup smudged, wearing sweatpants and a faded college hoodie. Her perfect composure had slipped completely. Leatrice, she said, voice trembling. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked slowly through my living room, glancing at the neat shelves, the tidy kitchen, everything she'd once mocked as small, dull, plain. Now it must have looked like peace. This place is, she began, then trailed off. Smaller than I imagined. That's because I don't buy things to fill it, I said quietly. She winced, deservedly. Fair. We stood there for a long moment, the air thick with everything unsaid. I messed up, she said finally, voice cracking. I messed up so badly I don't even know where to start. Start anywhere, I said. I panicked, she whispered. About the house, about money, about keeping up appearances. Derek kept talking about savings and budgets, and I just couldn't let him see how deep it was. Every time I thought I'd catch up, I fell further behind. And when you helped that first time, I thought, just once more. Then I couldn't stop. You could have, I said softly. You chose not to. I know. Tears gathered, but didn't fall. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't admit it. I thought if I looked successful, I was successful. And every time you helped me, it made the lie feel real. You were drowning, I said, and you mistook me for a lifeboat. Her lip trembled. You have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, I said, but I don't trust you either. Amanda's gaze flicked around the room, landing on the mug of tea on my counter, the spreadsheet open on my laptop screen. You documented everything. Yes, not to expose you, to protect myself. She nodded slowly. Derek knows everything now. He took my cards, sold the SUV, canceled the trip. I feel like a child. Then it's time to grow up, I said quietly. You're 34, Amanda. You can start over, but not if you keep pretending you're the victim. She flinched, wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I don't know how to start. By getting honest, I said. With yourself, with Derek, maybe even with Mom and Dad. Her shoulders shook once. They'll never look at me the same. Maybe that's good, I said. They never looked at me right either. Maybe now they'll see both of us clearly. Amanda stared at me, lips trembling, and for a fleeting second, I saw the girl she used to be, the one who taught me to ride a bike, who once stood up to bullies for me, the one I'd tried to save for years. Leatrice, she whispered, I'm sorry. The words didn't fix anything, but they landed like the first brick in a bridge. Fragile. Possible. Sorry doesn't change the past, I said, but maybe it can change the next chapter. She nodded, tears finally falling. Can I call you sometimes? Just to talk? You can, I said, but not about money. A shaky laugh escaped her. Fair enough. When she left, the night felt lighter, not healed, but breathing. Through the window, the city glowed with distant headlights and half-formed chances. I made tea, the same kind she once mocked as boring. It tasted better than ever. I didn't know what Amanda would do next, whether she'd truly change or simply rearrange the chaos. But for the first time in years, I wasn't part of her storm. I was the quiet after it. Days passed quietly after that night. Amanda didn't call again, but I heard the updates in whispers, through Mom's half-hearted check-ins, through Derek's measured tone when he left voicemails. The storm was still there. It had just moved houses. By the second week of January, the fallout was public. Derek had sold her SUV, canceled every subscription, and transferred control of the household finances to himself. Amanda, once the flawless hostess of Instagram brunches, was now working part-time at a boutique near downtown. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And for the first time, I suspected that reality terrified her more than any debt collector ever had. Mom called one night, her voice brittle with guilt. Leatrice, she's trying, you know. She gets up every morning, goes to work. Derek made her meet with a financial counselor. That's good, I said. She's miserable. She's supposed to be. Leatrice. I don't mean that cruelly, Mom. It's just the truth. Growth hurts. There was silence on the line, followed by a sigh, heavy enough to carry years of favoritism. You were always the strong one, Mom said quietly. Maybe that's why we expected you to hold everyone else together. I stared at the window, watching headlights slide over the glass. You didn't expect strength, Mom. You expected silence. She didn't reply. Maybe she finally understood. A month later, the family gathered for Dad's birthday dinner. The dining room was smaller this time, or maybe it just felt smaller because the air had lost its shine. The leaves and linen napkins were replaced by simple white plates, and Amanda showed up 15 minutes early, wearing a thrifted sweater and no makeup. The room went still when she walked in. She looked at me first, then at the others. I owe everyone an apology, she said softly. Especially you, Leatrice. Mom blinked fast, fighting emotion. Dad cleared his throat. Derek stayed seated, arms folded, but eyes kind. I lied, Amanda continued, to all of you, about my money, my success, everything. I let my sister take the blame for things I did, and her voice broke, she still helped me. A long pause. Even the clock on the wall seemed to hold its breath. You didn't have to do this, I said quietly. Yes, I did, she said. Because every lie I told made it easier to believe I was better than the person who was saving me. That's sick, isn't it? No, I said. It's human. But it stops today. She nodded. It has to. The table shifted from judgment to relief, like the whole family had been waiting for someone to finally say what we all knew. Dinner moved slower after that. No one bragged. No one compared. Even Mom seemed different, humble, watching her daughters like she was meeting us for the first time. Afterward, Derek approached me near the porch door. She's keeping up with payments, he said quietly. First $500 went through this week. I smiled. 1 month down. Only, what, 16 years to go? He laughed under his breath. Probably. Then his tone softened. She really is trying this time. I hope so, I said. You don't sound convinced. I am. Just careful, he nodded. Fair. As he walked away, Amanda lingered at the doorway. The porch light washed her in pale gold. Leatrice, she said, voice low, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to be someone who deserves it one day. I studied her for a long moment. The same face, now quieter, stripped of its armor. Then earn it, I said. She smiled faintly, the kind that breaks something inside you just enough to let in air. I'm trying. Weeks turned into months. Winter thawed into the kind of spring that smells like new beginnings and old regrets. Amanda's name started appearing on her own bank statements again. Derek said she'd paid off 2 smaller loans and was slowly chipping away at the rest. Her Instagram disappeared. Not deleted, just abandoned. She sent short texts sometimes. Got a raise at the boutique. Making another payment today. Kids miss you. I answered simply, that's good. Boundaries weren't walls. They were guardrails. And I wasn't ready to climb over them again. One Saturday, Mom invited me to brunch. Just us girls. I almost said no, but curiosity won. We met at the old cafe across from my store, sunlight spilling through lace curtains. Mom looked older, softer somehow. She ordered my favorite tea without asking. I wanted to thank you, she said. For what? For not letting this family rot under secrets. For standing your ground when I couldn't see the truth. I looked down at the teacup, the steam curling like forgiveness that hadn't settled yet. You always saw it, Mom. You just didn't want to look. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for mine. You remind me of your grandmother. She used to say love isn't what you give, it's what you stop giving when it starts to cost your soul. I swallowed hard. She was right. You were too. We didn't say anything else for a long time. But for the first time in my life, silence with my mother didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. That night when I got home, I opened my banking app and saw another $500 transfer from Amanda. Second payment. It wasn't the money that mattered. It was the consistency. I replied simply, received. Thank you. For a moment, I hovered over the keyboard, tempted to add something more. I'm proud of you. We're okay. But I didn't. Some things grow stronger in the quiet. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and let the hum of my apartment fill the room. No shouting, no guilt, no phone buzzing with emergencies that weren't mine. Just peace, steady and earned. Outside, wind rustled through bare branches, soft and distant. Somewhere, Amanda was probably setting an early alarm for work. Somewhere, Mom was finally sleeping without pretending. And me, I sat in the dark, realizing that for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a background character in someone else's life. I was finally the author. A full year has passed since that Thanksgiving, the night I stopped being the family scapegoat and finally became my own person. The world didn't end like I secretly feared it would. No great explosion, no final betrayal, just the slow, quiet unraveling of old habits. Amanda still makes her monthly payments. Every first of the month at 8 o'clock a.m., sharp, a notification slides across my phone. Incoming transfer, $500. Sometimes she attaches a note, for February, or just a simple, thank you again. I never reply with more than 2 words. Received. Thank you. It's not coldness, it's clarity. We're rebuilding something on even ground now, without pity, without manipulation. I'm not her keeper. She's not my burden. Mom and Dad are different too. The unspoken hierarchy in our family, where Amanda shone and I quietly paid the price, finally cracked. It happened gradually. A few awkward dinners, some uncomfortable silences. Then, unexpectedly, a Sunday lunch where Dad asked me for advice on his retirement plan. Mom listened while I explained it, really listened, and when I finished, she said, I should have been prouder of you sooner. That moment was small, but it changed something in me. Not vindication, not revenge, just release. Amanda's life looks nothing like it used to. She traded luxury handbags for late shifts, designer heels for comfortable flats. The boutique job turned into a management position. She works hard, genuinely hard, for the first time. Derek stayed, though not because he had to. He chose to. They went to therapy, cut up the last of her old credit cards, and built a joint account with rules and honesty instead of secrets. Sometimes Amanda sends me photos of her kids, sticky hands, school plays, birthdays with homemade cakes instead of resort backdrops. They look happy, real, and she looks like she's learning to live without the filter. As for me, I redirected every dollar I used to send her into something of my own. Each month, $3,600 went into investments and savings. I learned to watch the market like I used to watch my sister, patiently, quietly, waiting for the right moment. My portfolio grew by 34% in a year. My emergency fund is healthy. I bought a new couch, small and soft, the kind you sink into without worrying about appearances. It's funny. The couch isn't just furniture, it's proof. That peace doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from the simple, unglamorous act of refusing to hand away your power. One afternoon, as I was reorganizing files at my desk, I found an old shoebox tucked in the corner of my closet. Inside were scraps from another lifetime, birthday cards, movie tickets, and a folded note in Amanda's handwriting. It was dated 10 years ago. You're always so calm, Leatrice. I wish I could be like you someday. I sat down on the floor, the note trembling between my fingers. It was written long before the debt, before the lies, before she learned to weaponize comparison. Maybe that version of her had been telling the truth. Maybe she really had wanted to be like me, steady, grounded, unshaken, and somewhere along the way, she mistook envy for ambition. I refolded the note and slipped it back into the box. Some memories are better preserved than relived. In the evenings, I walk home through the quiet downtown streets. The world feels wider now, like I can finally hear it breathing. Sometimes I pass the boutique where Amanda works. Through the glass, I see her laughing with a customer, genuine and unguarded. She doesn't notice me, and I don't interrupt. Some distances don't need closing, they just need understanding. On the anniversary of that Thanksgiving, Maya invited everyone for dinner at her apartment. No monogrammed napkins, she joked. The family showed up in sweaters and laughter instead of competition. Even Amanda brought dessert, an apple pie she baked herself. When she placed it on the table, she looked at me and smiled. Homemade this time, she said quietly. I smiled back. Looks perfect. As the evening went on, I realized no one was walking on eggshells anymore. Mom told stories from her college days. Dad laughed until he cried. Amanda refilled glasses and teased Derek for burning the turkey last Christmas. And me, I just sat back, listening, breathing. At one point, Amanda leaned toward me and whispered, I still owe you $71,000. You're making progress, I said. I'll pay it all back one day. I know. Then she added something I didn't expect. Not just the money. Her eyes met mine, steady this time, not searching for pity or approval. And for the first time in years, I believed her. When I got home that night, I lit a single candle and sat by the window, thinking about how peace often comes disguised as loss. Losing illusions. Losing roles that were never yours. Losing the idea that love means sacrifice. I used to think my worth came from how much I gave. Now I know it comes from what I choose to keep. The city outside glittered with 100 other stories, some messy, some beautiful, some both. But this one finally felt finished. I'm 32 now. I still live simply, still drive the same modest car. But the air feels lighter. My days feel like they belong entirely to me. And Amanda, she's still paying, slowly, steadily, 1 month at a time. Maybe she'll never fully make up for what she did. Maybe that's not the point. The point is, we both changed. She learned accountability. I learned peace. And somewhere between those lessons, we found the quiet truth that family doesn't need to be perfect to be forgiven. I look at my reflection in the window, faintly glowing in the candlelight. For once, I don't see the scapegoat, or the savior, or the invisible sister. I just see Leatrice Quinn, whole, steady, and free.